Hi guys, it's Mrs. Sorensen. I hope you're all doing well. We are going to start reading a book together. It is called Ranger in Time, Escape from the Great Earthquake by Kate Messner. Okay. Chapter 1, Morning of the Earth Dragon. At first, Lily Chen thought it was another nightmare. The roaring sea, the slamming waves. So often her dreams took her back to the crowded, lurching ship that had brought her across the ocean to San Francisco 5 years ago. But this nightmare didn't end when Lily opened her eyes. An angry roar shook the mission home where she lived with 50 other girls and women. Lily sat up in a bed as the mirror over the dresser crashed to the floor. It smashed into shining pieces that danced and skidded over the wood. The whole house rocked as if an angry giant shook it in its palms. The window rattled itself free and crashed to the street below. Lily's bed jumped up and down and sideways until she was thrown to the floor. She crawled to the open window and pulled herself up to look outside. The street was a rolling wave of cobblestones. People stood in their nightshirts looking up to the sky. An old man raced into the street in his bare feet, shouting, "Ai, de lo zang! Ai, de lo zang!" which means the earth dragon is wiggling. Lily understood this was one of California's earthquakes. Usually there were trembles that shook pictures from the wall, but today Lily felt like one of the rats that the neighborhood dog liked to catch and thrash about. She straggled back to her bed and clung to the headboard. The house swayed like a ferry boat in a storm. Ceiling timbers ground. Chimney bricks crashed onto the roof. Lily's room filled with dust as the plaster walls cracked and crumbled. It felt as if the shaking might never end, but finally the house settled. Lily picked her way through the broken mirror pieces to the door. It was jammed shut, stuck in the twisted door frame, but Lily was big for her age and strong. As a servant in Chinatown, she lunged about around pails of stew and baskets of vegetables every day. She yanked until the frame let go and set her flying backwards across the glass-strewn floor. "Are you all right?" a voice called from the hallway. It was Donaldina Cameron, the woman who ran the mission house. The girls called her Lomo, or Old Mother, but she was nothing like the mother Lily remembered from home. Lily's real mother smelt of earth from working the farm. Her real mother was far away over the ocean in China's Guangdong province. Lomo's mission house was better than being beaten as a servant, but it was a long way from home. "We've been shaken, but this good house is still standing," Lomo told the girls. "Come downstairs and we'll see about breakfast." Lily and the other girls climbed over fallen bookshelves and got themselves dressed. The quake had rattled pictures from the walls and toppled dressers, but somehow the fishbowl on the little hallway table had survived. "Gum Gum!" Lily rushed over, knelt down and smiled at the little fish. Some of his water had sloshed out onto the table, but he was all right. "Your golden color certainly brought you good fortune this morning," she said. When Lily went downstairs, her heart sank. The girls had cleaned the house spotless that week. They swept and dusted and draped a beautiful fishnet in the chapel room to get ready for the annual meeting of the people who ran the house. Now all the dishes had been tossed about and broken. The chimney had collapsed. How would they even cook? Lomo settled everyone down and soon there was breakfast. Someone brought baskets of bread from a bakery nearby. Another neighbor appeared with apples and a kettle of tea. Lily sat with the others at the little white tables and recited a poem from the Bible. "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want." Lily's mind wandered. Even as the girls ate, there was talk of packing and going to the Presbyterian church on Van Ness Avenue until it was certain the home would be safe. Lomo told them to gather just a few things. They finished eating and set to packing up bundles of bedding, clothes, and a little food. Outside, Chinatown buzzed with noise. Doors slammed, voices filled with worry and fear drifted through the broken windows. When Lily returned to the kitchen and looked out the door, she understood why. The sky was full of dust clouds where buildings had collapsed. In the distance, half a dozen dark plumes of smoke rose into the quiet sky. The earthquake was only the beginning. Chapter 2. Sorting and Sharing. "These don't fit me anymore," Sadie said, holding up a pair of jeans. "They're still in good shape," her mother said. "Fold them and add them to the pile." Luke and Sadie had been sorting clothes all morning. Their church was collecting donations for some refugees' families that would arrive soon. Ranger wished Luke and Sadie would finish and take him outside to play. He plopped down on a pile of Luke's old sweatshirts to wait. "I'm not sure Ranger understands what's going on," Luke said, laughing. "I'm not sure I understand either," Sadie said, as she added another shirt to the pile. "Why are the families coming here if their homes are so far away? And why can't they bring their own clothes?" "Because they had to leave very quickly," Mom said. "Refugees are people who are forced to leave their homes because of war, disaster, or some other reason. There's often little time to plan or pack. That's why they need our help, right?" Luke shook out a pair of snow pants. "To get settled in a new home where it's safe." "Right," Dad said. "These boxes are pretty full. Let's load them up in the car." Ranger followed Luke and Sadie outside. While they put boxes in the trunk, Ranger sniffed around the yard. It had rained the night before, so the grass smelt of earthworms and mud. And squirrels. Ranger perked up his ears and looked around. There, it was under the picnic table, twitching its fluffy tail. Ranger bounced towards the squirrel and it took off running. He chased it around the yard, past the bird feeder, and through the garden. Then the squirrel ran up a tree. It looked down at Ranger for a branch and twitched its tail again. Ranger barked at the squirrel like he always did after one got away. He loved chasing squirrels. That was the reason he wasn't an official search and rescue dog. Ranger had been through weeks of search and rescue training with Luke and Dad. He learned to track people by following scent trails in the air and on the ground. He practiced finding Luke lots of times. It didn't matter if Luke was hiding in the thick woods or in a barrel or in a tunnel under the snow. Ranger found him every time. But search and rescue dogs weren't allowed to chase squirrels while they were working, even if the work was only practice or test. Ranger would never run off to chase a squirrel if a person really needed help. But on the day Ranger took his test, he knew Luke was just pretending. A squirrel had raced past and Ranger couldn't resist its fluffy, twitchy tail. "You coming back in, Ranger?" Luke called. "We need to pack up some more boxes." Ranger went inside. As he passed through the mudroom, he heard a sound coming from the dog bed. Ranger knew what it was. The old first aid kit he dug up in the family's garden only made that sound when someone far away needed help. Sometimes Ranger heard the sound when a person was missing or in trouble. Sometimes he heard it when someone needed Ranger to guide them through a long, dangerous journey. He pawed through his blanket until he uncovered the old metal box. Beside it was a strange pile of treasures: a quilt square, an odd-shaped leaf, a feather, a broken metal brooch. These were gifts from the children he met and helped. All those other times the box had made that sound. Now it was humming again. Ranger knotted the worn leather strap over his neck. The metal grew warmer at his throat. Light began to spill from the cracks in the old box. The humming grew louder and louder. Ranger's skin prickled under its fur. The light grew brighter until he couldn't see his dog bed or the mudroom anymore. Ranger felt as if he were being squeezed through a hole in the sky. The white hot light was so bright he had to close his eyes. Finally, the hot metal cooled and the humming stopped. Ranger opened his eyes. He was standing on a street made of stone. All up and down the block, wooden and brick buildings tipped lopsided. Some were half knocked over. Ranger sniffed the air. It smelt of bricks and dust and bread. Then the loose stones began to jump. The buildings lurched and trembled. The vibrations rattled Ranger from his paws to the tips of his ears. What was happening? What was this strange, unsteady place? It's starting again, someone shouted. Outside, quickly, a voice called from the doorway of one of the brick buildings. A crowd of girls poured out. The taller girls pulled the smaller ones close and hurried them away from the rattling buildings. They huddled together in the street. Then one of the girls broke away from the group and raced back into the building. A second after she disappeared inside, an upstairs window shattered. Jagged shards of glass rained down on the street. A bit of roofing swung dangerously from the top floor. Bricks from the porch shook loose and tumbled to the sidewalk. The cobblestone kept trembling under Ranger's paws. This whole strange place was rattling itself to pieces. How was Ranger supposed to help? It couldn't stop the earth from shaking. At least the people in the street were out of the patch of the falling glass and bricks. They were safe for now, but none of them seemed to notice the girl who ran back inside. The house rattled and groaned as if it might crumble to the earth at any second. Why hadn't she come back out? Where it was safer? Another upstairs window broke and smashed to the sidewalk below. Ranger bounded up the dusty porch steps and raced inside. We're going to stop there for tonight.